Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. Like and subscribe, it helps me a lot. And if you want a specific recap, just comment down below. Now let's get into it. Our story begins in a shipyard, where a man named Park Kang-tae is being brutally beaten by a group of thugs. As they pummel him, one of them offers him a cigarette, his last cigarette. Park lights it up, takes a puff, and listens as one thug instructs another to finish him off with a single blow. Kneeling down, Park apologizes for what he's about to do. Before the thug strikes, Park reflects on his life, which has been riddled with anger and despair. Despite his struggles, he realizes he's still attached to his life. Boxing was everything to him. In high school, he was considered a promising prospect in the sport, but his inability to control his emotions led to a fight where his arm was permanently injured. Doctors told him he'd never box again. As he loses consciousness, he laments his choices and pleads for one more chance to step into the ring. In the void of unconsciousness, Park begins hearing jeering voices and a name, Callie. Though unfamiliar, the name echoes persistently. Suddenly, he awakens with a gasp, unsure of where he is or why he feels different. He recalls being stabbed and notices his body is no longer the same. Days later, he finds himself among a group of young boys being addressed by an old man with a cane. The man explains that losers in an upcoming match will be sent to the mines, a death sentence, while winners get to stay at the August Boxing Apprentice School. Their instructor, Nick Sar, emphasizes that survival depends on relentless training. Each boy is assigned a sparring partner, and Park, now known as Callie, is paired with a massive boy named Slit. Nixar announces the match will take place in a week, leaving the weaker boys visibly nervous. Callie quickly realizes the matches are stacked against weaker fighters, ensuring their likely defeat. Death in the mines looms as a terrifying certainty for him. Later, Nixar pulls Callie aside, informing him that he's recommended for discharge due to his frail build, as he wouldn't survive long in the mines. Nixar suggests selling him to a different master, but Callie refuses, declaring his intent to fight in the upcoming match. Surprised, Nixar asks if he's certain. Callie, with unwavering resolve, replies that he will become a boxer. Seeing his determination, Nixar agrees but leaves the door open for Callie to change his mind. Privately, he wonders if this boy is truly Callie, the prodigy they once knew. In reality, Callie is still Park Kang-tae, now inhabiting this new body and life. Recognizing his second chance, he vows to pursue boxing again, even though his current body lacks stamina, strength, and durability. He reflects on why this body, frail and bullied, was the one he received. As he trains, Callie is interrupted when Slit, his sparring partner, punches him in the face without warning. Slit mocks him, accusing him of receiving special treatment from Nixar. Slit beats him mercilessly, calling him weak and insignificant, while others look on in disgust or pity. But this time, Callie stays on his feet, surprising everyone. Furious, Slit winds up for a devastating punch, but as Callie sees the fist coming, time seems to slow. For the first time, he can clearly see the trajectory of the punch. At the last moment, he dodges it. The spectators gasp, and even Callie is stunned by his newfound ability. Slit, angrier than ever, throws another punch, but Callie effortlessly bobs and weaves, dodging each strike like a seasoned fighter. Seizing an opening, Callie counters with a punch to Slit's solar plexus, shocking everyone. Slit, however, shrugs off the blow, grabs Callie by the collar, and knocks him out cold. As the crowd disperses, one onlooker notices something remarkable. While Callie lacks strength and weight, he has extraordinary reflexes and coordination. Though Callie is beaten, he realizes something crucial. The most important factor in boxing is body weight. He now understands his limitations, but is more determined than ever. Despite his current weakness, he knows one thing for certain. He will fight, he will survive, and he will win. 20 years ago, in this new world, a revolt of armored gladiators shook the land. These fighters were so formidable that no regular troops could stand against them. The kingdom barely managed to suppress the rebellion and, as a result, abolished the slave gladiator system that had caused the uprising. From the ashes of that system, a new form of entertainment emerged. Fighters who relied solely on their fists to destroy their opponents, bringing immense pleasure to the audiences. Our protagonist, now part of this world, knows he lacks the physical attributes to survive as a fighter. Determined to change that, he throws himself into training. During the morning exercises, he runs alongside the other boys. One boy notices his exhaustion and suggests he slow down, but the protagonist pushes forward, refusing to let himself falter. He knows every ounce of effort counts if he wants to survive. After the run, he collapses drained and thinks to himself that he could have run better even in his old life, despite years of smoking and drinking. Meanwhile, the instructor observes him from afar, noting how much he's changed. In the past, he would have fallen behind, but now he's managing to keep pace with the middle of the group. The instructor wonders what happened to him. Overhearing the other boys, the instructor learns that the protagonist was beaten up badly by some of the stronger boys and even suffered a head injury. He interrogates the group, and they reluctantly admit the extent of the beating. Hearing this, the instructor begins to understand the protagonist's newfound determination. As the morning training ends, the afternoon session begins. The other boys can be seen weightlifting, each one working desperately to avoid being sent to the mines. Inspired by their effort, the protagonist decides to train even harder. He punches a hay dummy, using it as a makeshift punching bag. While training, he realizes that with his small size, it's nearly impossible to cause significant damage. The only way he can effectively fight is by targeting weak points like the jaw, a strategy that requires absolute precision. Lost in thought, he's approached by another instructor who asks what he's doing. The protagonist explains he's training, but the instructor, seeing he's not following the standard regimen, grows angry, accusing him of undermining their methods. The protagonist quickly defends himself, saying that training can be done differently. The instructor scoffs, insisting that the slugger style of fighting, heavy punches, and brute force is the way to train. The protagonist knows this style only works for heavyweights and won't suit his smaller frame. The instructor orders him to stop messing around and pick up a log for strength training. Just then, the head instructor intervenes, asking the protagonist if he's learning these methods from his father, a supposed fighting champion. The protagonist nods quickly, pretending it's true. The head instructor, impressed by the mention of a champion, allows him to continue his unconventional training. The protagonist reflects that while Callie's father might have been a champion, he wasn't a boxer. He wonders if Callie's father ever taught him techniques that might help in this new life. Meanwhile, the head instructor muses that something about the protagonist feels different, as if he's changed entirely. By the end of the day, the protagonist is utterly exhausted. Coupled with his weak body, the intense training leaves him craving something sweet. He looks up and notices he's standing beneath an apple tree. Unable to resist, he climbs the tree and starts eating an apple. His quiet moment is interrupted by a voice. "What are you doing up there?" Startled, he looks down to see a noble woman with red hair and piercing green eyes. Stumbling over his words, he tries to explain, but she cuts him off, saying, "Just give me an apple and come down. I want to eat too." The protagonist scrambles to fetch an apple for her, handing it over nervously. As she bites into it, she asks if he's a slave from the training camp. She then warns him that this is a noble family's garden and that if he's caught, he'll be punished. He stares at her, shocked, realizing he's in serious trouble. The noblewoman chuckles, noticing his panic, and introduces herself as Azalea Aegist. She reveals that her father is his master and demands to know his name. When he tells her, she smirks and promises to overlook his trespassing this time. However, with a stern glare, she warns him, "If I see you here again, I'll whip you myself." She urges him to leave quickly before anyone else sees him. Grateful, he thanks her and runs off, thinking how lucky he was to escape punishment. As he leaves, Azalea watches him thoughtfully, noting how small he is for a boxing slave. She decides to remember his name and keep an eye on him. The next day of training, our protagonist is seen practicing shadowboxing. As he moves with precision and focus, the other boys glance at him in confusion, whispering among themselves. Even Slit watches with a furrowed brow, thinking to himself that the protagonist has changed. His mysterious training methods are drawing attention, and for the first time, Slit feels a twinge of unease. If this keeps up, I might actually lose to him, he thinks. Frustrated, he throws a log aside in anger. Turning to another boy, Slit asks if the instructors are supposed to be around. Realizing they're not, he smirks, seeing this as the perfect opportunity to reassert his dominance. Without warning, he lunges at the protagonist, aiming to smash his head into the ground. But the protagonist senses the attack and dodges just in time. With a swift motion, he counters, an uppercut flying towards Slit's chin. Before the punch connects, however, the protagonist freezes. Realizing what he was about to do, he pulls back and apologizes. Slit stares, confused but wary. The protagonist, now calm, shows concern for his opponent but sends him a sharp, murderous glare, saying, "Don't get yourself hurt before the match." A shiver runs down Slit's spine. His earlier confidence wavers, and for a moment, he's genuinely afraid. The protagonist simply returns to his training, thinking, "I've seen guys like him in my past life. They try to tear others down to feel strong, but in the end, I always crush them." Nearby, another boy observes the scene. He recalls how precise the protagonist's movements were and realizes it wasn't luck that allowed him to dodge and counter. Turning to comfort Slit, he says, "You look pale. Are you worried?" Slit scoffs, quickly regaining his bravado. "Worry? About that wimp? He's just lucky. I'll crush him." The other boy hesitates before responding, still. He's not the same. Normally, he'd whine after you beat him up. But now, there's something different in his eyes. Don't underestimate him, or you might lose. Slit forces an awkward laugh, slapping the boy on the back. "Lose? To that trash? Not a chance. I'll send him straight to the mine." But deep down, his unease lingers. Meanwhile, at the Godolph mansion, a meeting is underway. Godolph August, the Baron overseeing the training center, sits at the head of the table. "What about Torres?" he asks. "Isn't he the one with promise?" The head instructor nods. Torres has exceptional strength, agility, and aggression. He's skilled and has the traits to aim for the champion title. Godolph's eyes light up with excitement. "Good. We need someone like him to restore our reputation. The training center's standing has been declining. We've had to send half our slaves to the mines just to stay afloat. But I have an idea. To raise more funds, we'll open the arena to commoners. This match needs to be a spectacle, a fight they'll never forget." The head instructor agrees, but silently curses Godolph's incompetence. The training center's downfall is his own fault, he thinks. For the first 5 years of Godolph's leadership, the inherited boxers kept the center afloat. But over the next decade, Godolph overworked them to death, leaving the center with no experienced fighters. The head instructor reflects bitterly, If he hadn't sent the young boxers to the Kingdoms tournament 2 years ago, we'd have had a chance to rebuild. Instead, they all died, and now we're left scraping by. As the discussion continues, Azalea Aegis, Godolph's daughter, surprises everyone by asking to attend the match. Godolph is taken aback. "You've never been interested in these fights before," he says. Azalea brushes off his concern. "Prepare a seat for me. I'll be watching." The head instructor warns her that it might be too brutal, but Azalea insists. In truth, she's not interested in the violence. She's curious about the protagonist. "I want to see how he fights," she thinks. The day of the match arrives, and the arena buzzes with excitement. Crowds flock to the stands, eager to witness the spectacle. Back in the training quarters, the protagonist calmly straps his hands, preparing for the battle ahead. His moment has finally come. This is it, he thinks. Time to prove myself. A fist is raised triumphantly in the air, and the crowd erupts in a frenzy of cheers. Therese, standing in the center of the ring with an uninterested expression, mutters, "Easy," as if the victory meant nothing to him. In the stands, the master and the head instructor exchange approving nods. "A great fight," the master remarks. "Within a year, he could be champion." As the crowd settles, another instructor steps into the ring, his voice booming. And now, the final match. Slit versus Callie. Azalea watches from her seat, her eyes narrowing as the two fighters step forward. "Everyone here is tall and muscular," she mutters to herself, glancing at Callie. "How can someone like him possibly fight?" The head instructor overhears her and responds, "Physique does matter, as it often determines strength. But there's always a way." Slit stands tall, towering over Callie, and smirks. "You should surrender now, runt. If you fight me, I'm gonna hurt you real bad." Callie meets his gaze and retorts with a calm confidence. "If your skills match your mouth, you'd already be champion." As the crowd jeers and cheers, Callie's mind races. "I can't go for his torso. It's too well built for my punches to do real damage. My only chance is his jaw." He clenches his fists. "To do that, I need to make him lower his guard." The bell rings, and Slit charges forward, throwing a powerful straight right aimed at Callie's head. Callie dodges with ease, his movements precise and calculated. He begins to bob and weave, his body swaying like a seasoned fighter, dodging every strike with fluidity. The crowd grows restless. "Fight back, scaredy cat," someone yells. Slit, enraged by the taunts, becomes reckless. His punches grow wild and uncoordinated as he tries to land a hit on Callie. But Callie remains focused, dodging and conserving his energy. Let him tire himself out. "That's how I win." Slit, now panting and drenched in sweat, winds up for another heavy punch. "Stay still, you small loser," he bellows. Callie smirks. He's out of stamina. He's mine. But just as Callie prepares to counter, Slit grabs his shoulder and delivers a monstrous right hook to his ribs. A sickening crack echoes through the arena as Callie is flung to the ground, clutching his side in agony. The crowd roars with excitement, their bloodlust palpable. "Crush him," they chant, ignoring the fact that grabbing is against the rules. The instructor steps in and begins the countdown. 10, 9. Callie lies on the ground, his vision blurry. "I didn't think it'd go like this," he thinks, a fiery determination igniting in his chest. "What should I do?" As the countdown reaches 6, Callie forces himself to his knees, his body trembling with pain. "I need to stand. I can't let this end here." At the count of 3, he rises unsteadily to his feet. He takes a moment to assess the damage. How many ribs are broken? Doesn't matter. The instructor approaches him. "Can you still fight?" Callie's gaze hardens, and with a violent aura radiating from him, he growls, I already died once. I'll survive this. Slit sneers. You'll regret standing back up, Runt. Callie is visibly struggling, his breath labored. Every movement sends waves of pain through his broken ribs, but he refuses to back down. Slit sees his opportunity and charges, throwing another massive right straight at Callie. Desperation fuels Callie as he blocks the punch with his forehead, letting out a primal scream. The impact shocks Slit, sending him stumbling back in surprise. Seizing the moment, Callie dives under Slit's next attack and unleashes an uppercut with all his might, aiming for the chin. The punch connects with a thunderous impact, snapping Slit's head back. The crowd falls silent, watching in awe as Slit wavers on his feet. He chuckles weakly, blood trickling from his lip. You think one punch is enough to take me down? Before he can finish, his eyes roll back, and he collapses like a felled tree, saliva dripping from his open mouth. The instructor begins the count. 1, 2, 3. The crowd murmurs in disbelief. As the count reaches 10, the instructor raises his hand and declares, "The winner, Callie." The crowd erupts in anger, booing and jeering. How did the skinny kid win? But Callie doesn't hear them. He's just relieved to still be standing. He raises his fist in victory, a determined glint in his eyes. "I won't let this second life go to waste," he vows silently. A week later, slave traders arrived, and half of the apprentices were sent to the mines. Among the inferior students, the only exception was Callie. After the apprentices were shipped off, only 12 people remained at the training grounds, leaving the center eerily quiet. At the August mansion, the head instructor arrived with Callie in tow. Callie glanced around, thinking to himself that this was his first time stepping inside the grand estate. "How's your body holding up?" the head instructor asked. "It's fine," Callie replied, though his curiosity grew as he wondered why he had been summoned. The head instructor gave him a knowing look. "The young lady called for you. She seems to have taken an interest in you after the last match." Inside her lavishly decorated room, Azalea awaited Callie. She greeted him warmly, her voice confident as she addressed the head instructor. "Wait outside. I wish to speak to him alone." Callie entered cautiously, standing stiffly. "Sit down," Azalea instructed, her tone leaving no room for argument. "I won't ask twice." He hesitated before sitting, wondering why she had summoned him. Azalea handed him a plate of fruit, her smile disarming. "I just wanted to talk," she said as he ate cautiously. Her expression turned curious. "You know you can't refuse my questions, right? You're a slave." Callie nodded silently. "You were amazing in the last match," she continued, leaning forward. "Even with those skinny arms, you knocked him out with one shot. My father said it was just luck, but that can't be right, can it?" Callie shook his head. "It wasn't luck. If you hit the chin accurately enough, the impact will make the head shake, causing temporary loss of control over the body. But it only works if the strike is strong enough." Azalea smiled, satisfied with his answer. "So, you plan the attack?" "Yes," he confirmed. Her smile widened. "I'll be looking forward to your next matches. Keep winning, Callie. Become a professional boxer. Who knows? If you become a champion, you might even earn your freedom." Callie's thoughts lingered on her words. Freedom. Is that even possible? Later that afternoon during training, Torres could be seen lifting weights with fierce determination. "I'll achieve freedom," he muttered to himself. At 14, Torres had been brought to the training center by the head instructor. The instructor had told him, "You have the natural physique and fighting spirit to become a champion. Work hard, and you can earn your freedom." Torres despised people like Callie, weaklings who cried every day and worked without purpose. But lately, Callie had changed. He had not only survived, but had also defeated Slit, sending him to the mines. Meanwhile, a group of apprentices gathered, grumbling about Callie's recent behavior. "Who does he think he is?" one of them sneered. "We should teach him a lesson," said another. Leading the group was a boy nicknamed Mantis. He approached Torres asking, "You in? Let's beat that runt for sending Slit to the mines." Torres shrugged indifferently. "I don't care anymore. If Callie wants to change, let him." I was only annoyed by his pathetic attitude before. During the afternoon training session, Callie was stretching, checking his ribs, which had fully healed. Weeks of pain had turned into newfound strength. His recovery training had even added some muscle to his lean frame. As he worked out, Mantis and the other apprentices approached him, their expressions menacing. Callie glanced at them, but didn't flinch. "If you mess with me, you'll get hurt," he warned. Mantis smirked. "Don't be scared. I'll go easy on you." Callie's eyes narrowed. "No, it'll be troublesome if you get hurt." Angered by the response, Mantis lunged at him, throwing a two-punch combination. Callie dodged effortlessly, his movements smooth and calculated. Before Mantis could recover, Callie countered with a devastating uppercut that connected squarely with his chin. Mantis's body went limp, collapsing to the ground as if the life had been knocked out of him. Tall height and overwhelming reach, it's like facing someone wielding a spear. Fighters with long jabs and punches create a nearly impenetrable barrier, making it hard for anyone to approach. This advantage should have been Mantis's greatest strength, but his large, exaggerated movements and bent swings rendered him incapable of capitalizing on it. Against Callie, Mantis was nothing more than a big punching bag. Callie unleashed a relentless flurry of blows, each strike landing cleanly on Mantis. Just as it seemed Mantis might go down, the two lackeys who came with him jumped in, completely disregarding the rules of a one-on-one fight. They moved to shield Mantis, acting like a pair of overprotective bodyguards. Mantis sneered, "Don't get cocky. You only got lucky with those hits." Callie smirked, his voice calm but cutting. "Lucky? You're the one fighting me with numbers because you're at a disadvantage." "Shut up!" Cujo, one of the lackeys, snarled, throwing a punch at Callie. Callie dodged the attack, but another lackey struck him from behind with a knee. For a brief moment, Callie faltered, his mind flashing back to his previous life. People like this, they need to bully others just to maintain their own fragile self-esteem. He clenched his fists, the memories of his own mistakes fueling his resolve. Torres, who had been watching from the sidelines, finally stood up. "That's enough," he said, his tone sharp. "If you were planning to gang up on him, you should have done it from the start. What's the point of pretending it's a fair fight when you never intended it to be?" Mantis and his crew turned toward Torres wide-eyed. "Are you taking a side now?" one of them asked. Torres's face twisted in irritation. "I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just annoyed by losers like you who can't handle getting beaten." Mantis growled, "I didn't lose. I just let my guard down for a second." "Then prove it," Torres shot back. "Fight him one-on-one again. This time, I'll referee." Mantis hesitated for a moment before shouting, "Fine, bring it on." Callie stood up slowly, his gaze predatory like a tiger ready to pounce. The intensity of his eyes sent shivers down Mantis's spine. Cujo threw a punch, but Callie dodged with ease. "Too slow," Callie muttered, his movements fluid and deliberate. In a flash, he landed 3 clean blows to Mantis's ribcage, each strike precise and devastating. Mantis tried to retaliate with another wild swing, but Callie evaded effortlessly. "You're wasting too much movement," Callie said, his voice cold. "You're just showing me all your weaknesses." Without missing a beat, Callie closed the distance and delivered a crushing uppercut to Mantis's chin. The impact sent Mantis reeling, his knees buckling before he crumpled to the ground, unconscious. Torres stared at Callie, his expression a mixture of confusion and curiosity. He fights like someone with real experience, Torres thought. Could it be? His father was the champion, after all. Maybe there's more to him than I realized. Callie turned to Torres. Why'd you help me? Didn't you hate me? Torres scoffed, crossing his arms. I don't owe you an explanation. Now get lost. From that day forward, no one dared to openly mess with Callie again. He was finally acknowledged as one of the boxing apprentices. In the August Mansion's guest reception room, the head instructor stormed in, interrupting a heated conversation between the master and a guest. Master, the head instructor shouted, you were supposed to refuse the match. We only have apprentice boxers on our side. The master slammed his fist on the table, his face red with rage. I can't stand that man. He didn't even bring any boxers yet, so we might still win if we do this. The head instructor clenched his jaw. There are only two options. Prepare our best fighters and hope to win, or send out a sacrificial lamb to buy us time. This isn't a game. The master waved him off dismissively. Pick the best 3 boxers and have them ready to fight. I'm not losing to that Baron. As the head instructor left the room, he bit his lip in frustration. How much more are you going to ruin this training center before you finally come to your senses? His thoughts turned grim. If fighters like Torres or Callie get seriously injured, it'll be the end for us. With only 3 days until the fight, the pressure to prepare was greater than ever. The head instructor gathered Torres, Mantis, and Callie, informing them they had been chosen to represent their training center in the upcoming match against the Baron's fighters. He explained that they were selected because they were considered the best candidates among the apprentices. Torres crossed his arms, his expression skeptical. Do you really think this team can win? The head instructor hesitated, the doubt evident in his eyes, but finally answered. The odds are ridiculously small, but a chance is still a chance. Mantis's face paled. What happens if we lose? Do we die? The head instructor shook his head. The master won't let that happen. You're his property, but your opponents won't hold back. They can break your bones if they feel like it. Callie, standing quietly until now, spoke up. You wouldn't have called us if you didn't think we could win. The head instructor sighed, then turned to Torres. You'll spar with the other instructors. Focus on gaining as much experience as you can over the next 3 days. Next, he addressed Mantis. You need to get a grip on your fear. Train your mentality. If you lose your composure in the ring, you're finished. Finally, he turned to Callie. I called you because of your recent performance. But honestly, I have no plan for you. Let me know if there's something you need. Callie nodded. I need someone to help me with my training. While Torres began his intense sparring sessions, the instructors put him through grueling matches, pushing him to his limits. They reminded him, your opponents may be experienced fighters, but they're only human. If you hit them hard enough, they'll fall. Even if you're on the verge of collapse, you must make them believe they're up against someone who cannot be defeated. Meanwhile, Callie devised his own training. He convinced a laborer to throw rocks at him. Though hesitant at first, the laborer eventually complied. As the rocks flew, Callie focused on dodging. Each near miss honed his footwork, reflexes, and weaving skills, essentials of modern boxing. With only 3 days to prepare, building muscle was impossible, so he worked tirelessly on sharpening his agility, his most vital weapon. When the session ended, he caught the final rock midair, signaling it was time to rest. That night, chaos erupted in the underground cellar. Screams echoed through the space. Callie rushed to the scene, only to find a group of battered apprentices nursing their injuries. Mantis stood nearby, looking shaken. What happened? Callie demanded. Mantis stammered. The fighters from the Baron's training camp. They came here and beat everyone mercilessly. Callie's eyes narrowed. Tell me the truth. This is serious." Mantis hesitated but finally admitted. "They didn't cause any permanent injuries, but everyone's bruised. We were completely humiliated." One of the apprentices, his face contorted in rage, grabbed a knife and shouted, "I'll kill those bastards." Before he could storm out, the head instructor entered, his face dark with fury. He slapped the boy holding the knife, his voice booming. "Are you stupid? If you lose, that's it. Accept it. Don't forget what happened here. Your job now is to become stronger than them. Revenge isn't one with words or knives. It's one in the ring." Callie looked around at his fellow apprentices, battered but resolute. For the first time, he realized that he had formed a bond with them, forged through shared struggles and training. This fight wasn't just about entertaining the citizens or proving the master's pride. It was a battle between two training camps, a clash of honor, discipline, and the will to endure. From that moment on, Callie vowed to give everything he had to the fight, not just for himself, but for everyone who stood alongside him. 3 days later, the August Estate Arena was packed with spectators buzzing with anticipation. Nearly half of the estate's population had gathered for the event. The air was charged with excitement, and the fighters waited backstage for their turn. The head instructor handed each of the 3 boys a cup of herbal tea, explaining it would calm their nerves and boost their strength. Looking them in the eye, he gave a final instruction. "If you feel like you're going to lose, raise 2 fingers high. Don't let pride cripple you. A lost fight is better than a ruined body." He then assigned the fight order. Mantis would go first, followed by Torres, and Callie would finish it off. Mantis's eyes widened in shock. "Why me first?" The head instructor shoved him toward the entrance. "Get out there," Callie called after him. "Don't let him get too close." Mantis shot back. "Idiot, you can't hit someone without getting close." The crowd roared as Mantis's name was announced, followed by deafening cheers when his opponent, Boz, stepped forward. Boz was a warrior from the Baron's training camp with an impressive record of 14 wins. As Boz approached, he sneered at Mantis. "Having long arms and legs doesn't make you strong, kid." Mantis froze, his legs trembling as he stared at his opponent. Torres watched from the sidelines, noticing Mantis's stiffness and worrying for his teammate. From the Baron's booth, the Baron smirked, leaning toward the master of the August Estate. "He's tall, but he's just a scared kid." The master scowled, snapping, "The match hasn't even started yet." But in his mind, he cursed the head instructor for sending someone so unprepared. The bell rang, and Boz lunged at Mantis immediately, throwing a flurry of punches. Mantis dodged each one, but the crowd erupted in boos and jeers, angry at his evasive tactics. Boz, his eyes wild, grinned menacingly. "How long are you going to run, huh?" Seizing an opening, Boz feinted with a punch. Mantis raised both arms to block, but the real attack came in a brutal shot to his stomach. The impact made him double over with a squeal of pain, leaving him vulnerable to a crushing right straight to his face. Mantis hit the ground hard, almost unconscious. The crowd went wild as the referee began the countdown. On the floor, Mantis thought, "There's no way I can win." But then his eyes caught sight of the master, who was glaring at him with fury. "If I don't stand up, I'll be kicked out of the training center. I won't lose without throwing a punch." Fueled by desperation, Mantis forced himself to his feet just before the count ended. His voice rang out, "I'm a boxer too. Shut up and fight me." The crowd erupted in surprise as Mantis steadied himself, using the brief respite to remember the head instructor's words from training. "You've got the perfect build for a boxer, long arms, tall frame, but you're not using it right. You let Callie get too close, and that's why you lost. Stay calm, don't panic, and whatever you do, keep them at a distance." Boz charged in again, confident he could end the match. But this time, Mantis was ready. As Boz closed the gap, Mantis threw a perfectly timed right straight, intercepting him mid-lunge. Boz staggered back, stunned. The crowd gasped in excitement, then roared with applause. Mantis stood in the ring, his heart pounding. He stared at his fist in disbelief and exhilaration. It worked. My fist actually worked. For the first time, Mantis felt like a real boxer. After realizing that his reach gives him a significant advantage, Mantis starts landing precise punches in rapid succession. Blow after blow connects, overwhelming his opponent. The crowd goes wild at Mantis's unexpected counterattack. From the sidelines, Callie observes with keen interest. He's faster now, more flexible, he thinks. Without unnecessary emotions clouding his mind, his attacks are far more threatening. In the ring, Boz is shaken. His mind races. He really has the aura of a mantis, calm, precise, and deadly. Am I his prey? Boz grits his teeth, determined to turn the tide. Using his superior strength, he calculates the angle of attack. He's tall, which makes his guard higher. All I need is one clean hit, harder than anything he's landed, and this is over. Charging forward, Boz winds up for a devastating uppercut. The crowd holds its breath. But just before it lands, Mantis dodges with a swift movement. Seizing the opportunity, Mantis counters with a ferocious punch to Boz's face. The force sends Boz flying backward, his body crumpling to the mat. The arena erupts in cheers as the referee counts down. Mantis raises his fists, the realization of his victory dawning on him. He glances at the head instructor, who nods approvingly, a rare smile on his face. Mantis screams triumphantly, raising his arm in victory. The master leaps to his feet, shouting with joy and taunting the Baron. You see that? That's what real training looks like, the master jeers. The Baron scowls, retorting, "Don't get too cocky. We still have 2 fighters left." Unmoved, the master leans toward one of his aides and whispers, "Tell the head instructor that if an apprentice loses, they die." When the head instructor hears the command, his heart sinks. He gathers the remaining fighters and relays the grim news. "If you lose, you'll be sent to the mines. I'll try to persuade him later, but for now, survival means one thing. You must win." Torres stands up, his eyes blazing with determination. "There's no need for that. I'm not going to lose." Despite Torres' confidence, his upcoming opponent, Malga, is on a completely different level than Boz. Known for his brutal strength and unyielding spirit, Malga steps into the ring with a calm, almost dismissive demeanor. As the 2 fighters face off, Malga offers some unsolicited advice. "I'm not like the others. I was born different. If you don't want to get hurt, walk away now." Torres cracks his neck and grins. "Shut up and fight." The bell rings, and the match begins with a shocking exchange. Both fighters throw devastating blows that land simultaneously, causing gasps from the crowd. The intensity ramps up as Torres and Malga go back and forth. Each hit is met with a counter. Torres takes punch after punch, but refuses to back down, retaliating with equal ferocity. Both fighters endure brutal strikes to the face, and the crowd roars in excitement at the spectacle. Through gritted teeth, Torres smiles, wiping blood from his lip. "How many hits was that?" he asks mockingly, projecting confidence despite the pain coursing through his body. "I have to act like the winner, even if I'm about to fall." Malga smirks. "You've got some experience, I'll give you that. But it won't matter, I'm going to win." The fighters collide again. This time, Malga throws a wide hook, but at the last second, his elbow slams into Torres' head. The crowd erupts, some gasping in shock while others cheer the dirty move. Torres stumbles but quickly steadies himself, his fiery gaze locked onto Malga. That was an elbow, Torres growls. You're cheating. Malga shrugs casually. Accidents happen in the arena. Consider it a lesson. Torres's expression hardens, disgust flashing in his eyes. This guy thinks he can get away with that? I'll show him. Fueled by anger and resolve, Torres prepares to punish Malga for his underhanded tactics. As the fight continues, the veteran fighter reflects on his long career. 18 fighters have fallen at my hands, he thinks to himself. Although I didn't make it to the A class, I'm proud to be a seasoned fighter. But as he faces Torres, he's frustrated. This kid, an apprentice, is giving me a run for my money. He's like a wild boar. Why won't he go down? The crowd roars in support of Torres. From the sidelines, the MC observes and thinks this level of fighting is different. He's barbaric, but incredibly strong. Torres lands a crushing straight punch to his opponent's face, knocking out his teeth and leaving his nose a bloody mess. The veteran crumples to the ground, unable to continue. The head instructor pats Torres on the back for delivering an impressive show, much to the crowd's delight, and the master looks on smug. Torres, exhausted and barely able to stand, breathes heavily. He turns to the MC, his voice hoarse. The victory depends on you now. The MC nods. I know. I'll end it and come back. The announcer calls out, introducing the last fighter from the Baron's camp. Burrito, with 11 victories under his belt. The crowd roars, and the MC is met with loud cheers. We have kids bigger than him at home, they shout. One of the slaves, who works for the master's daughter, overhears and speaks up in support of the MC. She pulls him aside and asks, Do you know him? The man nods, looking conflicted. He's the one who helped me during training. He did everything he could to make sure I could fight. The Baron watches from his seat, a sinister grin spreading across his face. This time, we'll win easily. The others just let their guard down. The master chuckles. Of course they did. It would have been disappointing if we won them all. The young lady watches the exchange with a thoughtful expression. I expect a good fight from him. In the ring, the MC faces off against Burrito. His opponent apologizes before lunging at him, blitzing him with blinding speed. The MC backs off, barely avoiding the first few strikes. He's faster than I expected. This is dangerous. Burrito matches every movement the MC makes, mirroring his every step, cornering him. Realizing he's trapped, the MC attempts a few punches, but Burrito easily blocks them. Weak punches, he taunts. The crowd erupts in disdain, calling the MC the weak fighter, urging Burrito to use his fists and end this fight. The MC taunts back. You need to use your fists properly. Burrito, irritated, thinks to himself he's trying to manipulate the crowd, but it won't matter. I'll crush him now. With a roar, Burrito charges, but at the last second, the MC uses his footwork and agility to dodge all of Burrito's attacks, slipping past him with uncanny ease. The crowd goes silent, surprised by the MC's movements. Burrito begins to doubt himself, questioning if this kid is truly just an apprentice. His reflexes are too sharp. From the sidelines, the Baron's rage builds. How is he not landing a single blow? He roars, clenching his fists. The young lady, standing near the Baron, watches the scene unfold. She looks at the Baron's frustration, her thoughts turning to the MC. He's not just another fighter. He's something different. She watches closely, hoping the MC will prove just how extraordinary he is. As his opponent charges up for a punch, the MC begins to read his movements. He recognizes the familiar rhythm of the right jab. With precision, he slips the punch and dodges the left hook, his mind already predicting the combo before it's even thrown. The MC reflects on his training. remembering how practicing with rocks has helped him develop the patience to analyze his opponent's patterns and wait for the perfect moment. Now, the MC focuses on his opponent's feet, observing every shift and step. He then moves his focus to the upper body, scanning the shoulders, chest, and waist, preparing to counter. He anticipates the strike before it comes. Pivoting out of the way, he evades the punch, his body already coiled and ready to attack. The perfect moment arrives, and he delivers a powerful right to his opponent's head, breaking his nose and leaving him bloodied. Following up with a left hook, the opponent is sent stumbling, weak-kneed. The crowd watches in shock as the MC lands 2 consecutive blows. Even the boy who had helped the MC earlier looks stunned. With a final, desperate punch, the opponent collapses to the ground, dazed and defeated. The crowd begins to roar in support, now believing in the MC's skill. His opponent, on all fours, is in disbelief, unable to comprehend how it happened. The MC, however, is praying silently that his opponent stays down. He can no longer use his right hand. With a defiant roar, the opponent slams his fists into the ground in anger and begins to rise. He wipes the blood from his nose and readies himself for the next round. The MC mirrors his stance, preparing himself for what's next. His opponent snarls, calling him a rat, promising to crush him. Grabbing dirt in his right fist, he charges at the MC, intent on blinding him. As he throws the dirt into the MC's face, the young lady watching cries out, "That's cheating." The Baron, however, justifies the move, saying, "It's natural to grab sand when you fall." Blinded and in pain, the MC struggles to open his eyes. He thinks about the styles he's become accustomed to hear and realizes that the pain is nothing compared to what he's already endured. But his vision is blurry, and before he can react, his opponent lands a hit to his face, sending him flying. Gasping for air, the MC struggles to his feet, the crowd erupting into cheers as they prepare for the next exchange. His opponent screams as he lunges, declaring that this is the end. The MC, blinded but calm, relies on his training and instincts. He knows his opponent's patterns. He's already completed his analysis. As his opponent starts with the predictable right jab, the MC dodges it instinctively and counters with a precise punch to his opponent's nose, knocking him out cold. Fists raised in victory, the MC screams, his adrenaline coursing. The young lady watches, wide-eyed. "I came all the way here just to witness this sensation." From the sidelines, the head instructor claps, impressed. "I can't believe you won." After the fight, the Baron, humiliated, retreats quickly from the territory, his pride shattered. The Master, in a rare moment of joy, rewards the boys with 3 whole pigs. 2 months later, during the harvest season, Mantis curses as he drops a basket of potatoes. "I can't believe we're doing farm work after all that fighting." The MC, ever the optimist, chuckles. "Stop complaining so much. Think of this as strength training." Thanks for tuning in to No Limit Recaps. If you enjoyed today's recap, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to avoid missing any of our future videos. If you want this manhwa's next part, drop it in the comments. Got a favorite manhwa or a series you want me to cover next? Drop it in the comments below. Your suggestions keep this channel growing. You can also join our Discord for more updates, sneak peeks, and manhwa discussions. Until next time, stay limitless.